Hey everybody, how's it going?
Hey, folksners, welcome back. So, we actually have a really interesting episode this week. We are live on a test page on Republic,
Yeah.
and we were just talking about this where Roberto tried to go to the page, but he had some issues registering. You said it was a little bit more difficult than you
Yeah,
thought.
because I'm already registered on Republic because I did it on the show last time, took 10 seconds, not even. And right now I'm like, okay, so let's put like my money where my mouth is. So I have my passport and I'm trying to capture the picture and everything and see that it's a verification thing that it's taking a little bit longer than I thought it was going to.
And you know what? This is called the double verification. So I've done startups, so I know exactly what's happened. Okay, so as a product manager, here's what happens. It's kind of like a restaurant. You want to make sure that people stay. So when people say, how long is the wait? You're like 15 minutes. It's always 15 minutes. And it's always like really quick so that people think, I think I can wait, but it ends up being 40 minutes. So I think the same thing with your registration. They ask for your first name, last name, email. You're good. You think you're a member. But when you have to do the real thing, that's when the real registration happens. Because they want to have you kind of check out the thing for free, walk around. Because they realize people won't buy until a few weeks later.
Okay.
So why make them do all the hard stuff that you're doing right now? But that means you're about to buy, which is good. So now they also track you and then start emailing you and all that stuff. So that's how startups works. But welcome to What the Phuc podcast. So those who are confused what Republic is.
Wait, I passed the first step just for the record. Now I'm at the selfie right now.
Yeah. So Republic is a crowdsourcing system where we can raise money for our company Phuc Labs from regular folks like you on the show. And I'm guessing some of you are new to this podcast. You have no idea what's going on here. But this is a podcast about, I guess, Roberto looking really handsome there. I guess he's doing a selfie for his registration for Republic. I guess he has to do a photo. So he's not just trying to look pretty for you guys. I think that's a real thing.
I'm checking this.
So he's signing up to to endorse our campaign on
Like I'm doing that.
Republic. Where any regular person could put I think $150 minimum.
Yeah.
And we already have 8,000 people already commit in the course of 24 hours. $8,000, and like we barely even tried. So this is just a test page, and the idea is to raise $1 million from regular folks who can put $100 in, $150 in. I think 150 is the minimum, and then I think the average so far is I think we have like 15 people putting like $600 in or something like that. That's pretty high because I think the average on Republic is about $400. So $400 is the average check size, but you can do more or less depending on your appetite. But what we do is we created something amazing where you can basically recycle the metals from your phone, from your batteries, from your laptop, and essentially there's more gold. Do you know that there's more gold in a ton of mobile phones than a ton of gold ore? Do you know that?
No. Why?
Well, because you're digging the gold from the dirt, and you have a ton of dirt and other stuff with the ore,
Okay.
like things that you can extract. And even the gold, even if you have a bunch of gold, the gold has also other things in it. So you have to smelt it, you have to do all this stuff. And by the end of it, the weight of the gold as a percentage is actually less than the weight of gold in a pile of mobile phones. Because you think of the mobile phone as mostly electronic stuff that has a lot of metals that are precious, like palladium, copper, aluminum, things that we can all recycle. And we already have clients in the Philippines, in the U.S. We also, actually, this last week, we signed a contract with one of the biggest mining companies in the world.
Oh,
It's a six-figure contract.
amazing.
Signed, the done thing. We actually could get a check from them. So now we are a revenue. We're actually revenue, actually making money. The first dollar that we made.
Nice. So I should put more into Republic, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so I just wanted to maybe give, like, for those who are new, who don't know who we are, Roberto is also running a startup. We want to talk more about what Mass Realty is, Roberto?
Let's talk about Mass Realty. Man, Mass Realty.
Yeah, so what?
Yep.
Yeah, what is it?
It's about giving people back their power of buying houses and everything. Like knowing, getting a better idea of what you're going to be living in and where you're going to be living in, the neighborhood and everything before you buy. And helping out with everything else. Like we we offer like all the services of basically like real estate agents, but without all the fees.
Right, and I think there's more to it
Yeah,
too
there's a
because
lot
we
more.
just got off a board meeting. So
Hmm.
we just got off of a meeting where can you explain what happened in the meeting and kind of the three kind of things that we're gonna go and do and basically yeah, actually this show we want to kind of do like a retrospective.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I talked to Roberto. We're a retrospective. We want to talk about what happened so far in the show for those who never listened to the show, which is I'm guessing a lot of you. And also the show gets better over time because we understand what the show's about. The sound's better, the scene's better, the backdrop's better. I actually don't have this gray kind of messy thing anymore that we used to have. I'm not sure where that white thing is,
It's a
Roberto. Is that your
wall,
wall?
actually. It's just a wall because I used to be over there, like by the
It looks
window.
so freaking good, man. It looks like you have like this thing, but it looks so
A white
professional.
wall. I'm just here in the void. I feel like John Oliver.
But I think we started this 9 months ago around the summertime, and I think there's a lot of transitions that's happened so far. So you want to maybe just quickly go over from your point of view what happened so far, Roberto? Maybe you can be like the narrator of what you think were the highlights,
The highlights of the
right?
past years. So.
And then I can go into the details of what I think happened there. So let's start at the beginning. What do you think is the beginning of, let's say, the earliest that the audience should kind of know about us and this journey? So we met. How do we meet?
Well, the beginning, like you weren't even like you didn't have a face to me, because it was my wife that was like working on a project with you, and she would get into these meetings, and I would just like be doing my own thing, like working next to her, like close, and I would just hear you guys in the meeting, and I would hear you and then like and a bunch of other people in the team. It was, and some meetings went well, some meetings went a little bit more entertaining. And then like
And what was entertaining? When you say entertaining, what do you mean? Can you
uh,
tell? Because I want to hear about this. What do you mean? So just some backdrop. Roberto
mm,
is was living
yeah,
in Ecuador in the year 2020.
yeah.
Okay, so, and his wife is Magali. Magali is a contractor on Upwork, who I worked with, as well as a bunch of other people on Upwork, because I was transitioning from my last company to I was trying to figure out what to do. So I was just experimenting with a bunch of ideas, and back then the ideas were Mass Realty, which is the company that Roberto is actually leading
Hmm.
today. Okay, and that's the stuff that I was working with Magali for. But also we were doing social
Yeah,
games.
and
Social Games, which is a video game company, which I had an idea about, and we even built some video games. Okay, and then also another idea
it's weak
for
casa.
a Wicasa. So Wicasa was actually a social mission-driven cannabis company. We were going to band all the minorities together and essentially create a McDonald's or a Walmart, but with all the minorities powering it and giving back to the community. So that was kind of like the three ideas, and that was the summer of 2020.
Yeah, about
And I had left my company in the spring of 2020, right before COVID happened. The last company was Clinical Research IO, where I was the CEO, co-founder, and I had been there for 4 years, 4.5 years, 5 years. And the company was doing so well that we had almost got bought, and that's why I left the company because we were gonna get bought. I didn't want to stay up the lockup period. So that was my home run. In the spring of 2020, I resigned, and then boom, COVID happened.
and that was
And
crazy.
then I actually was able to sell $250,000 of my shares of my last company. So I'm not. Were you there for that, Roberto?
Yeah, yeah, we have it all on camera.
So literally, what happened was the month of July, I received a $223,000 check, $227,000 check, something like that, because $23,000 was deducted for some reason. I'll talk about that at some point,
Like
maybe, right?
taxes.
But yeah, some reason. I'll talk about the reason later if we need to, right? But I had 220 something thousand, and I spent a lot of that on those companies that did not make it at all. Zero of the companies made it. Mass Realty is barely alive right now. It's basically on life support, but we're kind of turning it around because that's like I'm like Ahab, and that's my Moby Dick. That's my third company.
Well, looks like we lost Phuc. So yeah, no, he was saying there was an issue with all these other companies, and there was a lot of people that got hired. Like they got hired, and they were not doing their part, man. Hey, How's it going? So yeah, no, I
I
was
get
just
I get
telling
muted. I don't
every.
know why.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I was just telling everybody that, like the one of the issues that we found with like Weedcast and all these is that you had a big team and a lot of like incompetent people working in there.
Exactly. So we basically had a lot of entrepreneurs.
Yes.
So entrepreneurs are people who say, "I'm gonna promise this, I overpromise,
Yeah,
and I
under deliver there.
underdeliver." We had an episode about that. That very
Yep.
episode.
Yeah, yeah.
So starting a company isn't easy, guys. This actually isn't my first rodeo. I've actually started 4 or 5 companies already, and each time in between companies, I do the exact same thing. I do a shotgun approach, where I talked to one group, I work with them, I work with this group, I work with that group, and then I finally settle on the idea in the group that makes sense. So think of it almost like forming a band. So let's say you're trying to form a band, and you're like a lead singer, and you want to play music, and you want to have a certain type of music you want to sing, and then sometimes you meet another bandmate who wants to play that music with you. That's great, but sometimes you have to kind of shop around and play different bands and all that stuff, and that happened, and I lost I guess $200,000 of investment, right? But I
Yeah.
only called it a loss. I called that I won. I won $200,000 of wisdom because I spent about 6 months, 9 months figuring out what to do, and one of it was the reason why I actually didn't lose it, but I lost control of the money because I was trying to delegate all this tasks to these people, and they would promise me these results and never gave me the results, and I kept giving them more and more chances. And one of the things I actually kind of had a emotional kind of issue with was I kind of lost trust in humanity a little bit during that summer.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
because
Well,
yeah, because
it
I
must
think
be
people
like,
like
man, it sucks because it was a big team of people, and I was just like overhearing some of the conversations, and it was bad because like everybody seemed to say just enough so they could stay on for like another week or so, or like just by that next day with the little work they were doing.
so being a part of a startup is very exciting. It's like being part of let's say you want to be part of a sports team, an elite sports team, right? So let's say you want to be part of the New England Patriots. The New England Patriots won a lot of Super Bowls. They're a very elite football team. You go in there and you just want to be the kicker or the water boy or somebody on that team because you don't have the talent or you don't have the effort. You just want to be on the team and you just want to do anything you can just to be there and not get fired. Okay? And that's what happened also recently to the software team I had hired. So as an entrepreneur, the main thing you have to learn is I make mistakes all the time with people. And sometimes it breaks my heart because you want to invest in people and you want to believe in them, but sometimes it's really hard to want someone to be successful and then face the reality that it's not going to happen. It's really hard, right? And so you have to basically make a decision. And like, so when you start companies, you have to default to one of those two things. You have to default to trust and assume this person will work out, or you default to don't trust, right? And I always default to trust, and here's why. Okay, it's gonna lead to a lot of drama, guys. You're gonna have to have people who break your heart like that summer, and even the software team that I recently hired. But if you default to trust, you're also gonna find people like Roberto, right? You're gonna find your crew, because when you default to trust, you basically stress test the relationship immediately. Right? So let's say I'm on the New England Patriots, and I trust that you're a free agent or you're the number one draft pick and you're a good wide receiver or whatever it is, and I throw you the ball. I trust you can do your job. I trust the system. I trust the process. I trust you. And then when I throw you the ball 10 times, you drop it 5, 8 times, 9 times, and you never catch it at all, actually. That is very clear.
Yeah.
Now, if I don't default to trust, here's what's going to happen. You're going to go and you're going to have a nice speech, a bunch of meetings, a bunch of events, a bunch of social things. You're going to warm up to this. And then a couple of weeks later, you might throw the ball. That person will probably drop it. Like they're supposed to drop it. because they're not very good. But then you're gonna be patient with them. You're gonna coach them. You're gonna spend some time with them. Blah 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 blah. And then 6 months later, you've thrown 10 passes over the course of 6 months because you were trying to be nice. You're trying to be gentle. You're trying to consider them as a person. You're trying to be human, which is correct as a human. But as a businessman or as a leader, you have to think about the long run implications of those people in your organization. It's like, do you want to win a championship? If so, if that person's a wide receiver and they can't catch the ball, and then the number one draft pick, and there's a person called N'Keal Harry in the Patriots who just got traded for a 7th round draft pick. So here's the way it works in the NFL. When you get out of college, you have promise. And N'Keal Harry was the number one draft pick for the Patriots 2 years ago. In the last 2 years, he couldn't catch anything. And no, did he not catch anything? But he gave them attitude. He's like, you're not throwing me the ball right. Or you're not giving me an opportunity. Or I was injured, or blah, blah, blah. Or like, I don't have to go. I don't have to do this extra thing. I'm good enough. It's you. The finger's always pointing outside.
That's crazy. I mean,
else.
like, I feel that's the worst kind of incompetent person. Like, you're not only are you not doing your job, but you're making me doubt mine. That's crazy.
Right, and then you're like, okay, so you have one or two choices. You have to like let them go, or you keep them. And we kept them. We kept this number one draft pick for 2 years because it depends how much you invest in that person.
Yep,
if you invest a lot in that person in terms of the capital, your effort, then you can spend more time investing in trying to recover that value. But at some point, you cut bait and you trade that person. N'Keal Harry was traded 2 years later for a 7th round pick. So it went from number one to something that's 7th, which is worthless, basically. So it went from promise to worthless, but that's okay because that's football. Football, NFL, National Football League, also stands for not for long. Not for long. That's the phrase that everyone in the NFL talks about, and that's why you have championship teams. Because unless you give results and effort or improve or show you want to be part of a championship team, you don't belong there. And there's no other way to do it than to let you go, but it depends how you let them go. Right? So at the end of that, I just said, this is a contractor situation. I went to Upwork for a reason. Because I knew that I had to try out people, but also went to Upwork for the reason of the show, which is I believe there are geniuses everywhere. And opportunity isn't everywhere. And so why not give someone in Vietnam, give someone in Turkey, give someone in India, give someone in China, give someone anywhere the opportunity to work on something amazing like this in the US, get paid a large amount of money compared to where they are working. And you meet people like Roberto, who's in Ecuador, who's amazing at videos and started this podcast. And without him, there's no way this podcast exists. Right?
Yeah, no, it's
modularly. Right? And also people at Phuc Labs as well.
Yep.
We met some people there. And the idea is Upwork is a new marketplace for a global existence that we're all entering. This global existence is basically the reason why Republic exists. Where now globally, there are 2 million people on their email list. Those 2 million people can invest in Phuc Labs. Or anyone, like you. You're in Ecuador, and you can globally cut a check for someone in the US like me.
Yeah, I just did it on camera, like right now. And it takes no time. Like it's like the registration took 10 seconds the first time, like you were saying, and then it took like an extra 3 minutes, not even.
Well, 10 minutes into the show, so you just started it and now you're done. It sounds like an infomercial.
Yeah, there you go. Like, please go on Republic.
Talk about infomercials. I actually did one last week. So I channeled my infomercial, and we actually had a videographer come to the office to make a video that you're going to see in Republic. But it was an all day. I've never been part of a video shoot, dude. It was really cool. It was the whole day, just me standing there on this tape exactly in this spot. So then the
Yes.
videographer can put the lighting perfectly and the sound perfectly and all that stuff. And literally, it was just me like 20, 30 minutes, 40 minutes total, and like a 4 hours of just standing there and set up and
It's
just
super
waiting.
important though, because like if they mess up something, the sound is gonna be all messed up, or like you're gonna be like all shiny or blurry. So man, like it is a process.
Yeah, like
And
the
then
depth of the
somebody,
room. Like, okay, you're standing
yeah,
too close to the wall. Move
yeah.
farther from the wall. I was like, oh my god, the depth of the wall. Oh, that clock right there. Take that clock off the wall. I was like, really? It's like, what, that clock? It's like, what's wrong with the clock? I guess they don't want to know what time it is or whatever it is. It's like your
Well,
shirt.
yeah,
It has
and
a
it's
small little logo that you can barely see. You need a shirt without any logo at all, which I had, but I'm just saying, like
it's
it was kind of
distracting.
weird.
Everything has a
Well,
purpose, and
no,
like there's
but also
composition for
legal.
everything. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You have
So
to.
so legal.
So
So
then
behind the
somebody would have
scenes
to blur it on in post. So it's just like saving work for the next guy.
for the editor, yeah, and all that
Yeah.
stuff. But also legally, you
Okay.
can only advertise your company on Republic. You can't advertise someone else. You
Okay.
can't take, for example, and put Harvard brand, MIT
Yeah.
brand, because then they say, oh well, that's not a Harvard investment or MIT, and might get sued by Harvard, or MIT, or
Huh.
Nike, or whoever your
Okay.
brand
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
you're wearing, because you don't want to be associated with that company that's fundraising on Republic, and then they're
That
using your
isn't.
brand to fundraise. So that's like,
That
oh well,
makes
that's
sense though.
illegal. So all these things I didn't even think about. I was like, holy crap, huh?
Yeah. 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 It
And
does
then
make
and then
sense. I
they,
mean, like, if somebody like if you gave out like a T-shirt from Phuc Labs, and then somebody had a garage sale, and that T-shirt left, and then you see this dude like I don't know on the news murdering like 10 kids, and then he's wearing that T-shirt. You're like, man, like I do not want to be associated with that stuff, or there's just so many options of things that could happen. So like I can see why they rather just like get it all out.
yeah. But anyway, so anyway, we kind of got scattered, but I just want this show. I want to kind of do a retrospective, like we talked about, right?
Yep.
So when we first met, just going back to the retrospective, it was Magali and the relationship with Magali that led you to me,
Yes.
and then we decided to do the podcast around last summer, and
Yeah,
we
about nine
couldn't
months
get off
ago.
our ass to do it for a while. It had to take like 4 weeks for us. Let's just do it, and then we went, oh, fine, let's do it. And then next week we never did it, and then we did like four tries later, and now we're like actually enjoying this because the way I think about this is, guys, all right, you're at a bar, and you can either talk to the most boring person in the world, or you're at a bar and you listen to this podcast on your iPhone or on whatever device, and you're talking with really interesting people who are doing interesting things that maybe can inspire you to do interesting things in your life, but also learn about management, about how to handle family, how to handle situations in life, be inspired
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
people like us are actually living what we call carpe diem. You know what carpe diem is?
It's a fancy YOLO.
Yeah, so I went to Roxbury Latin. Roxbury Latin is a private school, all boys, but it was a Latin school. So carpe diem is Latin for capture the day. Okay? So capture the day means live your life to the fullest. Live your life as if this is your last day. Does
Yep.
that make sense? Capture the day. And I've been living my life, and actually I kind of want to talk about this because the retrospective is the retrospective I made when I quit my company. So
Okay.
when I quit my company in 2020, I did a retrospective of my life. And that's how I came up with the Phuc Labs idea. That's how I came up with these ideas that I've recently had. And these are the reasons why I continue to be successful because I keep evolving. And usually I talk about woo-woo stuff at the end, but I'm going to talk about woo-woo stuff at the beginning in this
Let's
episode,
do this.
right?
We're like halfway through. Like,
Yeah, well, kind of. So the woo-woo stuff is I'm a scientist, first of all. And my role model is Spock, right? My role model is Einstein. My role model is Tesla. My role model is Isaac Newton. My role model are mathematicians, scientists, biologists, computer scientists. And basically, all knowledge is going to come to the same conclusion. It's going to come to the ultimate question, whether it be religion, science, mysticism, anything, it's going to go to the meaning of life. What is the meaning of life? Why is this show here? Why am I doing this podcast? Why am I starting these companies? What did I do in my life? And when you die, here's what happens. The universe is made of you. You're basically the universe. When people think about God, they usually project themselves, expanded version of themselves, to become God. Like God's a woman, God's a man, God's a goat, God has 10 arms. But really what you need to know is to be truly happy, you have to let go of the concept of God. You just have to be, right? Because the concept of God is you can close God in a box. Because you feel like you can control God and what God should be. So the meaning of life is to let go of that. To understand that whatever you're doing in life, whether you're depressed, whether you're ugly, you're fat, you're poor, you're not doing well with anything, that everything is an illusion. You're just basically energy, information. And all you are is a memory. A memory of everything that has happened to you in your past that has led to your existence through evolution and DNA and the creation of humans and the creation of the universe in general. You represent time. You represent the universe itself. That means you're immortal. It means you never die. You just reincarnate. It's an endless cycle where your soul is like a prime number. It's the most unique thing in the universe, the prime number. You know that? A prime number cannot be divided by anything else. It's original. There's nothing like it. It's a snowflake in the universe, right? It's a unique thing. It's a unique soul. And your soul is unique too. It has to be unique. Otherwise, there'd be a billion copies of you. Maybe there are. But I believe my soul is unique. Because what's fundamental in the universe is free will. The ability for you, the universe, to decide who you want to be. So when I was looking at my life in 2020, and I asked those questions, I said, how was your life? I'd say, amazing. Did you have any regrets? No. Do you think you can go to heaven? Absolutely. Did you wrong anyone? No. You have regrets, of course, but they're small. And I'm like, didn't have a midlife crisis, right? All my friends, every single person I know, had divorce, got into arguments, did blah, 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 blah. I mean, I got into arguments, I got to, issues with people around me. But inwardly, I was happy with my life. Of all the choices I made, my timeline was clean. The way you can think about your life is a series of choices. The choices you make change the outcome of your future. So basically, if you don't feel guilty when you wake up because your life is so wonderful, because you did nothing, you know what that means, Roberto?
I feel like it can go both ways. You either have like this sort of inner peace, or that you're not doing enough.
It means you're reaping the benefits of your past.
Mm-hmm.
So right now I'm reaping the benefits of my past, where it seems so easy because my past was so hard.
Yeah.
That's the way it's supposed to be. So the midlife crisis is a lawyer, accountant, someone who wants to be something ambitious, and they don't reach it, and they want to be more, and they want to change their life, or maybe they want to reset their career, or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And they don't have that inner peace. Even if I failed, even at the age of 40, I was a failure. I mean, I was broke. Cryo was probably my first home run, but even then it wasn't sure. And at that point, even after the company was going to be sold, I didn't care. I was pretty happy. Because if I died that day, if I go back on my timeline of choices in my life, I would basically say I make the exact same choices. I don't think very many people would say that. And if you don't say yes to that, that means you have karma. Okay? So the meaning of life is to clear your karma. Karma is when you go and you die, because when everyone dies, it'll be very surprising to them. You're always going to have a look of surprise. Holy shit, I'm dead. How the hell did that happen? Because if you knew it was going to happen, you wouldn't be dead.
Yeah, like I shouldn't have eaten that.
So every morning I wake up and I'm saying, what would I say sorry? Who would I say sorry to? Who would I forgive? Who would I love more? What would the thing that I do personally to work on 4 aspects of my life? And I didn't know these 4 aspects until I heard this guru, Sadhguru. Sadhguru told me, he's actually very famous, but not just Sadhguru, but Dolores Cannon. Dolores Cannon, I want to introduce you to Dolores Cannon. I want to introduce you to some other people I've been listening to, because basically, like I said, all these trees of knowledge, chemistry, science, math, religion, they all lead to the same question. What the hell is this about? What's the meaning of life? The meaning of life is we're all timelines. But we have to combine our timelines into a future we all agree on. That's the meaning of life. When I'm on this planet, I'm on the same timeline as you guys. I coexist in the same location, in this 3D existence. So this is us already cooperating. We're already cooperating by living in the same timeline, by interacting with each other, making decisions that makes the other person's life random. Okay? Because the meaning of life is, if you're a single timeline, nothing is random. You drop the fork, no one picks it up. You go to the park, it's completely empty. It's a boring existence. So what happened was, the universe is made of timelines, or souls. And the souls are interacting with each other like energy. And they're agreeing to play a game on this earth. And we all have to agree to follow the rules of the game. Like a simulation. And we basically lower ourselves to this world and we try to live a game where we try to win the game. And at the end of the game, and they're going to say, what was your score? Did you win the game or not? And I'll say, I definitely won the game. Okay? Because I didn't even know what I was trying to win. Right? But there's 4 things in your life you have to win. These are the 4 things in the universe you have to win to ascend, to go to heaven. Because what heaven is heaven right now for me. It's heaven on earth. That's the difference between a perception where you're actually happy and you're where you're supposed to be, and this is more fun than being in heaven. What would you do in heaven, man? Heaven's freaking boring. Heaven, everything's perfect, right? You got nothing to do. You can hang out on the beach, but you can do that for a couple of eons.
Yeah.
But what would you do, man? You play some video games, maybe watch some Netflix, maybe see some drama, maybe live a life on Earth for a while. And that's what we're doing here, guys. We're living a limited life here in a caricature, in a body. So that's the first thing you have to win. The body. The body is a file. Let's get to science, because I think that's my twist on things. There are no such things that you can explain without multiple perspectives, if it's the truth. For example, this microphone, I can look in 5 different directions. I can tell you 5 different things about it. The shape, the color, the direction it's pointing at, all that stuff, but it's the truth from 5 different perspectives. So religion will agree, science will agree, chemistry will agree, all these things will agree if it's the truth. The universal truth. And that's what we're talking about here. Right?
Yep.
We're talking about the universal truth. And the universal truth is your body is like your avatar. Now, when you go to TikTok or Facebook or whatever, what do you do with your avatar? You take care of it, maintain it. You leave it better than you start with. Actually, you probably start with some type of empty shell that's a default that looks like everyone else. And now you have awesome tattoos, Roberto.
Yeah.
Look at your tattoos. So your body is an expression of something. What's that? What's that to express?
These tattoos?
Yeah.
Well, there's a story behind them. It's usually like, you know what? Yeah, each one has their own story on these things.
So emotion.
Yeah.
So your body manifests your emotions. Your emotions are the second part of the game you have to master. Okay. The first part of the game is your body. But you realize your body manifests your emotions by you drawing on it, changing it, not taking
Yeah.
care of it,
Yeah.
sleeping too much, sleeping too little, not working out, eating too much, eating too little,
Yeah.
not taking care of it.
Well, I guess you try to get to what you want to be, and I feel like your body is the big part of it. I mean, like you're wearing it all the time. You're looking at it, so little by little, it starts looking more how you think it should be.
So do you think your emotions are right, or do you think there's a different way that's better?
Yeah, no, I think definitely by emotions and by it's a really like by feel kind of thing. Like this
So your
feels
mind.
right. Yeah.
So there's a conflict between your mind and your emotions. You're saying, right?
Sometimes, I mean, like maybe not the mind, but let's say like maybe there's conflicts between environment and emotions. There's some
So
things you
basically your
can't.
logic. Your
Yeah.
logic says this,
Mm-hmm.
says this should be this way, but your emotions say this way, and sometimes they conflict with each other.
Yeah.
However you want
Sometimes.
to call it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now we have a third concept. We have the concept of the body. The body expresses emotions, but the emotions conflict with your mind. So your mind is the third score. How smart are you? How logical are you? When you go in that situation, would you make the same logical decision? And when your emotions align with your logic, then you don't have conflict anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah. 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 You're kind of like at peace on all levels.
Now, when you just said at peace, what does that mean?
There's no conflict, so everything is pushing and pulling the same way.
Pushing and pulling, what do you mean?
Well,
Is this some secret energy? I mean, what are you
like,
saying? The secret powers? Is
well, it's kind of like an
gonna,
objective. Everything is working towards the same objective, so everything is in tune.
Okay, so your system is fully integrated.
Yep.
So your mind, your body, and your emotions are pointing in the right direction. So you have group clustering. Okay, so the concept of clustering, okay, is when two or three things work in conjunction with each other,
Okay.
and that's called love. You invented love, self-love, right? And you love the universe, and you love everything, and you love other people because there's nothing wrong with your life. Why would you be upset? You feel sorry for them. That's what I do when I see people on the streets. I say, hey, that's an unevolved soul that needs to evolve further, and they're probably having fun evolving. Hopefully.
Yes.
And if they're not, maybe
Like-
they don't want to have fun. Maybe they have to go through that drama because they need to learn that lesson. So I used to feel sorry for homeless people, for example, right? Or people who didn't have exactly what they wanted.
Yeah.
For example, myself. Right? I don't have everything I need in terms of before, but I was never like wanting more than just my family, a nice meal, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? But there are some parts where I would want more, and I realized, that's all an illusion. Because even if you have it, you're not going to change your lifestyle. I'm just still going to pee, poop, eat, sleep, love my kids. So basically, when you let go of desire for the next thing, when you have body, mind, emotion, and your inner chi, that's the fourth thing. your inner energy. Okay, it's your aura. Some people say it's confidence. Like, so it's like, oh, Phuc's so confident. I'm not confident, I'm just happy. Happiness is confidence. Happiness is where you're supposed to be right now, saying the thing you right now, and being sure you're right now. And because of that, you have no conflict. Because if you had something else to do, or something else to say, or someone else to be, or some other state to be, then you would make changes and you wouldn't be happy. You're not at the zen that you want to be. Does that make sense? So,
Yeah.
those are the four things that instinctually you can logically connect the dots to find the meaning of life. If you agree with what I just said, make your body your temple. Work out. Take care of it. I use anti-aging drugs, right? And the anti-aging drugs, I'm 153, 154 this morning. And that was my weight in college. I take care of my body. Look at my muscles. Look at my muscles. I have, that's my, wrestling muscles. And Roberto, you look amazing too. So your body is a temple. So when people say, it's okay if I don't take care of my body, it's okay, you shouldn't shame me, I'm not going to shame you. No one should shame anybody. But is it good to have a body that's obese? Absolutely not.
No, I was watching this podcast with Joe Rogan and Gina Carano, and she was talking about how she got Gina Carano is she's an actress now. I think she was like in Star Wars and The Mandalorian and everything, but she used to do like some MMA and like in the UFC and everything. And she really thanked her coach for shaming her into being in shape. And like every time I would walk into the dojo or to the gym and everything, and be like, "Oh, you need to train." And so he made me feel bad, but I felt amazing after. And it's just like that initial phase of like, listen, like there's a problem here, let's fix this.
And I think that's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't do anything except trigger what was already in her.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the statement. So most of the time, you hate people who have a flaw or a thing that you have that you wish you didn't have, or they point out something about yourself that you don't want to see.
Yeah, but is there. I mean, like you can see it, but you're just like.
But you don't want to see it, right?
You're just putting your head in the sand or trying to cover the sun with one finger. I mean, like seriously, it's
Right.
very weird when you don't want to accept it, but it's there.
For example, right? Like even myself, I have to work through my emotions. For example, let's say working. Sometimes you don't want to work because you emotionally say, no matter how hard I work, there's never going to be a result. And then you have to realize why you're working in the first place. Is it because you want the result or because you enjoy what you do?
Yeah.
Right? And
Yes.
sometimes you forget to ask that question. So the best way to kind of get to this space that I've done in my entire life is wake up in the morning, and the first thing you should do in the morning is make your choices. Because at that point, you are closest to your inner self, your higher self. So there's actually Sadhguru. I didn't understand this. So let me give you some science, okay? So there's a biological clock. Okay, and I've been waking up in the middle of the night at a certain time all these years. And I would then go back to sleep and I wake up again. I thought I had to use the bathroom and all that stuff. But naturally, I would just wake up this time recently, in the last couple of years. It was consistently at this time. I didn't know why. And then Sadhguru said, at 3:20 to 3:40 specifically, something happens in your body. And that's basically the best time of day for you to wake up and actually meditate, do things. And I've been doing things in the morning. 3:40, yes. So when your body is in a cycle where you are happy, I don't know what's going on here, man. But around 3:40 on the dot, dude, I wake up. And I'm like totally energized, no coffee, no nothing. I go out, do my exercise, do my yoga. I also do a breakfast bowl, so I have a little cannabis in me talk about cannabis because I just told my kids I take cannabis. She's like, oh, your kids know you take cannabis. Yeah, they do because my kids also know I drink alcohol,
And they know I
right?
eat sugar. They know I eat
And they
salt. I
also
mean,
know that I
it's,
used to eat that. Yeah. So they also know the bad things I did. But also cannabis isn't bad. I told them, look, you shouldn't do it until you're 30 or 40. Because let me tell you about the science behind that, right? Your neurons, your computer is loading new programs all the time when you're young. You're loading
yes.
the math program, you're learning this program, you're learning languages, you're learning social skills, you're learning a bunch of stuff. You don't want to interrupt that, okay? But what happens to your laptop 4 years later, 5 years later, 10 years later? You have to clean up the clutter, defrag the hard drive, shake it up a little bit. And sometimes psychedelics, like mushrooms or like marijuana, cannabis, it can shake that and loosen it up and actually make you think and make new connections, okay? And bring
Okay.
you back to when you were like a little kid again.
Hmm.
So my routine of health in terms of the body's a temple is this. Your mind and your emotions can be used, you can use things outside to help you control your emotions and your mind. And cannabis is one of those creations that actually biologically you're made to bind with. So there are receptors in your body for cannabinoids, specifically everywhere in your body. You produce THC, you produce the cannabinoids in marijuana. You are meant to interact with marijuana. In fact, the shamans, the Indian shamans, the mystics, the people who are the intellects, who want to connect with the greater realm, the quantum realm, the conscious realm, whatever, they would smoke, right? Carl Sagan, one of my heroes. Carl Sagan is a scientist who does, astrology, astrophysics, and all that stuff. So astronomy, sorry. He basically is one of the greatest scientists, and he smoked marijuana all the time. So it was something that was a stigma because it was made of basically it can make hemp. So
Yeah.
hemp is a type of clothing material that it was actually very rugged and very close to denim and cotton and all that stuff. So it was very something that would compete with the cotton industry. And so there were lobbyists who destroyed the hemp industry by making marijuana into a legal drug in the early 1900s, right? And so this is a legacy from 100 years ago, whereas thousands of years, marijuana has been used responsibly by the shamans and the priests and those who want to kind of do some inner connection. Because what's going on is this is connecting you to Gaia. So the earth itself, right, has an internet underneath it in the roots of the trees, the mycelium. So if you want to look this up, Paul Stamets is a good scientist to look up. So Paul Stamets, look up his research, as well as Maglia Magliano, right? Maggiano Gagliano, right? So she's basically a plant scientist. And so those two have found that plants talk to each other. Plants use the mycelium to communicate, like the internet. And the internet basically makes the forest healthier. For example, if you have this tree here, this tree here, this tree might actually even feed the other tree, help the other tree give nutrients to the tree,
Yeah.
or give the tree warning that over here you shouldn't grow, right? Because it's not good. And so the idea is all these things in the past, all these things about like the forest being alive and Bagaya is true. But it's at a time scale and an existence we can't understand. Okay? So think of Gaia as like a bacterial cell. Would you talk to a bacterial cell?
No.
Probably not. But this bacterial cell has telepathy.
Hmm.
So you wouldn't talk to it because it doesn't have a mouth.
No.
Because
Just.
first of all, it would be the big like the size of the Earth. Okay. Imagine the biggest bacterial cell is living under the state of Oregon, and that's the largest mycelium on the planet. It's a single mycelium that's so large it's the size of a state. It's an organism that is basically a mushroom, the size of a state. It's the largest brain on the planet Earth.
That's huge.
But it's not just the only brain, it's everywhere. The forest are large networks of brains, okay? And they talk to each other, and they talk to Gaia, and then the network and the communities, even the seaweed and all that stuff. The Earth is alive, man. Everything is alive. An atom is alive. And in fact, an atom may be another universe that we can't even detect or interact with at all. Just like we can't interact with a galactic, cluster or a black hole. We can never touch it. We can never feel it. So that's my theory of the resolution of reality theory. Okay? So I'm also a physicist. So the resolution of reality theory is this. You live in a scale of size and time and reality. And you have a scope of reality up to a certain size, down to a certain size, and above a certain size. And guess what? You can peek into the next universe, smaller than you and bigger than you. But you only peek in the next universe. And that's how universes work. So this whole multiverse thing, bullshit. Okay? The true multiverse has to do with size. Okay, here's how it works. I have a scale that matters to me. Okay? What's the highest number you ever counted to, Roberto?
Like counted to?
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe like 1,000?
Okay. So 1,000 is the highest number that you can conceive of doing math for. So that's a resolution of math. It starts there. It starts, what kind of knowledge can you care about or want to calculate or think about? In most computer systems, did you know, Roberto? Most computer systems have an integer, a number of int 11. Int 11 means that the longest number in a computer system is 11 digits. Okay? So, or maybe 14 digits for a big int. That's a long, whatever it is. So maybe whatever digits, 10 to 14, maybe 20, whatever, doesn't matter, but it's limited. So basically that math, those numbers below that, the computer has awareness of. Okay? And everything that we use today can be simulated in a computer. The knowledge on Earth can be encapsulated in a computer. The prime number, that is the highest prime number, is going to dictate all the numbers below it that you can see. So let's say it's 14 digits.
Okay.
The highest prime number, that's 14 digits. Everything below that prime number you can see. So that's the resolution of our reality. That's the real math that we could use. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Above that prime number, other prime numbers that are higher, that are much bigger. The resolution is much bigger than our reality.
Mm-hmm.
We never need to use that number. We never need to use a digit that's 50 or 100 or 1,000 or a billion or a trillion or Google. The next prime numbers don't matter at all. They don't exist fully. We could see some of the numbers because these numbers below that threshold is a fractal universe. It's a fractal universe where all these numbers, all these prime numbers, all these souls, all these unique things, you can call them what you want, all these numbers below that interact with each other to create a universe of numbers and possibilities within that universe of numbers. Anything above that, there's other stuff that we can access if we try, but we're not going to try, so we never ever even think about it or access it at all. It's a different universe. But if we want to, we can keep counting and peek into the next universe. We're seeing new things by seeing new prime numbers that our universe we didn't see. And now we're getting new information from the new universe of numbers because we're crossing the threshold of knowledge.
But is it really a new universe though?
You're increasing your memory buffer in a computer. You know your iPhone has 16 gigs, you make it 32 gigs. Now you make it 64 gigs. Math is such where you can make new math numbers appear by counting.
Yeah,
So
but what
it's
is it
called my
like?
law of emergent knowledge. The law
What
of
is it
emergent
really a new
knowledge
universe
says,
though?
go ahead. What's that?
Is it really a new universe? Or
The
is it
new
just that we
universe of
get to see
number.
more of the one we live in?
The new
Let's say
universe of number.
with
Let's
your
say you counted to 11, right?
okay.
Anything below 11 is your universe of numbers that you know. What's the next prime number?
From 11, 13.
13.
Yeah.
13 gives you a universe of 26, 39, and so on and so forth, because
Yeah,
you can multiply
52 and
13
everything.
by
Yeah.
itself forever. It's a fractal number space where you're getting a set of numbers. You're not just getting that prime number, you're getting all the possibilities of that prime number going in a circle, multiplying itself,
Okay.
becoming more numbers, and that's what multiplication is. I was trying to figure out conceptually what multiplication is, and now I understand mathematically what multiplication is. Mathematically, multiplication, I just came up with this theory yesterday. Mathematically, multiplication is not copying yourself. It's spinning in a circle the number of times you want to multiply. Okay? It's weird. Okay? The way you can think about it, if you're by yourself, how do you copy yourself? By just looking at yourself and scanning yourself in a circle. You're cloning yourself by looking at yourself in a circle. You're copying yourself. The only way you can copy yourself is to look at yourself in a circle. A 360 view of you. To have awareness of who you are. So that's what the universe is doing. It's expanding. It's trying to find out who it is. It's looking 360 at itself. It's trying every variation of every soul and living its life through every one of us. And seeing every perspective of how it is to be in the universe. Every timeline is living. And it's creating reality by looking at itself and cloning itself. So when you multiply yourself, you're really just spinning in a circle looking at yourself. If you multiply 5 times, you spin 5 times. If you multiply 1,000 times, you spin 1,000 times. And that's frequency. Okay? So you can be a frequency that's much higher frequency because you incarnate 1,000 times. This is your 1,000th reincarnation. It's still you. It's still the number 13. But now you're 26, you're 39, you're so on and so forth. Each lifetime, you increase the spin of the experience. Each lifetime is one rotation of you trying and then asking yourself at the end of your life, how did it work out? Did you spin your way out of this existence? Did you ascend? Did you pass the test? Did you do those 4 things? Did you take care of your body like a temple? Did you emotionally rectify your karma? Did you mentally figure out things that you questioned? Did you have energy to expand beyond your existence? Did you spin fast enough? Did you spin enough times? Because when you spin enough times like a top,
Yeah.
what happens to a top when it spins really fast, man?
It blurs out and then
It flies. It leaves the surface. It ascends. It doesn't have to be tied down to this existence anymore. That's the meaning of life. Is to reincarnate, spin that circle. Every time you live, you spin that circle. And at the end of that circle, did you leave the plane of existence? Did you care to spend one more time? Because you still have karma to work out with your emotions. Your body's kind of in rough shape. Do you want to take that body to the next existence, or are you happy with that body? You want to try a new body next time?
yeah, like let's work on this one.
Yeah. If you're happy with your body, you can live like that in your body forever. Just think about it. If you died right now, would you like to reincarnate in a new body?
No, I'm fine. If I die right now, it's open casket, man.
I'm fine with myself. But most people, when you ask, would you like to reincarnate in a new body, they say yes. Did you resolve all your emotional trauma? Did you say sorry to the people? Did you do
No,
everything you want?
I'm
If you die right
far
now,
from
did you
that.
meet one more person and say this or do that? A lot of people would say, yeah, I have like a list right here. I don't. Do you
I got
have
some shit to
anything that,
figure out.
yeah. So a lot of people have that karma, right? So you have to spin one more circle.
Yeah. Well, I
So the
think it's funny
question
how
is,
like
did you
at
get
some
a
point
10
you
out
get
of 10
like
in this lifetime? Because your body, your emotions, your mind, your energy, you take with you forever. And this is the last time.
but
You sure
imagine
you
that
want to try
like
again?
but imagine like knowing that you're gonna have to relive some stuff because you know you haven't figured it out yet. Like there's some shit that's still there lingering, but you're aware enough that you know you're gonna have to come back.
But think of the other perspective. What if you stuck with yourself right now forever? Wouldn't that be hell for a lot of people?
That would be. Like I can see why.
If you're stuck with some insecurity about your body,
Yeah, yeah.
some karma about your emotions, someone you can't let go of, right? Someone you wronged and you wish you just said sorry before you left. Because when you leave, you can never go back and say sorry again. Would you do that? Would you say that intellectually you figured it out? You know the meaning of life and you honestly believe it? Would you say that you have the energy, right? That if you saw a ghost, that you saw something scary, that you're not scared of it. You don't worry because you know it's an illusion. Because you know that your energy is stronger. And all that was just a version of you before. And you're just fighting with yourself. Or scared of yourself. A past version of you. Because you've ascended beyond that. You know you've experienced being a ghost. You've experienced being a zombie. You've experienced being poor. You've experienced being rich. You've experienced being cheated on. You've experienced being depressed. You experienced suicide. You experienced all these things in your lifetimes. Maybe you don't experience that. Maybe you didn't need that. But most people, they had to get beat up before they learned. And
Yeah.
sometimes you reincarnate, you beat up yourself because you know what, you're a stupid idiot. You should have done it better. I'm going to make it even worse so you can learn your lesson.
Yeah,
So
no,
sometimes
exactly.
it's you
Like
causing yourself to live that lifetime again.
because man, some subtle ways don't work. And we all learn in different manners, so if it's too subtle, you're not gonna figure it out. It has to really like hit hard, and then you start understanding things.
Yes. And then just let me continue this kind of thought, right? So you got the four aspects. And then what happens is then you just said you aligned your frequency, you aligned this triangle, you aligned your life, and now things come easily to you.
Yep.
Because by definition, everyone likes you or respects you at least. It doesn't have to, they don't have to love you or like you, but they like the ones who you want to like you, and those who you don't want to like you don't really care if they like you or not.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, that's true.
So those who you care about, who you want like to like you, will like you. So you're already happy. You're good, and so that means that you go in with confidence. You go into your life with confidence. You go into business meetings with confidence. And when you go into anything with confidence, what does that mean? It means that you know how to walk. Because a baby doesn't have confidence walking. But if you've done that circle enough, if you walked enough, if you made the mistakes and your karma has been kind of fixed over your lifetimes, and you don't make that mistake over and over again, that means you're not going to fall. That means you're going to walk. And when you go and you say to someone who's a baby, say, hey, walking's easy. I'm confident that I can walk. The baby's going to say, what the heck, man? That's impossible. How the hell you do that? That's
Yeah.
bullshit. For me, it's so impossible. But because you kind of like work on your inner self, your emotions and stuff, it's easier because you don't have any conflicts. Because you go into that relationship with your date, and you don't have to worry about the past. You go into that business meeting, you're confident in your skills because you would not have gone into that meeting unless you knew you could do the work,
Yep.
right? So what happens is your perception also changes. So let's go back to the show. So we have 5 minutes left. The perception was that we were going to make money and we are going to do well for mass realty and social games and all this stuff, and it failed. And one perception, right, for someone who has emotional issues in terms of karma, would be say, hey, it failed, I give up. It's too hard.
Yeah, we're done here.
Right. Mentally, the other person might have done a short-term calculus and saying, hey, short-term, let's just go ahead and reset, get a job, do something sane. That's what a mentally sane person would do. But that's also short-term. Because long-term, to invest in yourself instead of other people by working for them is a long-term investment that's better. So mentally, you get past the incorrect logic that prevented people from investing in themselves. Because they have a short-term logic, and now you have a long-term logic. And so for me, the decision to invest in myself, for example, to put money into Phuc Labs, to keep it going, to put money into, Mass Realty, to do all the stuff that we're doing right here, is because I have confidence I can walk. Because I've been walking for 25 years. I've been working on this business. I've been working on this knowledge. I'm a really good magician. I know how to cast spells. I'm good at coding, which is what casting spells is about. Because coding is like math is like casting a spell. MX plus B is a line. It's always a line. And that's a spell to cast to shoot something straight or left or right. And that's where I got my math theory about the M. MX plus B is a line, a formula for a line. B is where, if you remember your math, B is where on the y-axis you start from. So B is your starting point of your life, right? And then M is the angle of the slope of your line. But M, the higher the M, the higher the slope. The lower the M, the lower the slope. So M is like your frequency of your life, of your soul. And B is where you start from. Okay? So if you have a good soul, good karma, good life, everything, your B might be 0. But your M is so high that in your life, in 3, 4, 5, 10 years, you're going to pass all the ones that start with a higher B. So they might start at 10. They might be richer than you. You're just a refugee who came to the country with nothing. Like me. I started at 0. But my M was so high that no matter what happened in my life, that slope of my life just kept going up like that. And I got more and more confidence that I can walk because I've been doing the same thing and being successful at it. And that's all it is, guys. Just you have to take your M. You gotta make it as high as possible. It's not too late to change your M, the slope of your life, the direction of life. It's those 4 things, right? Because your line is this way right now. The slope of your life is going this way. You might have started rich, and actually your slope might be negative. You might have lost that money. You might have lost that fame. But you know what you are, man? You're just a dot. You're a dot, and you can be any line you want to be. You just have to change your M, and then you're heading in the right direction. Anyway, that's my wife calling me for lunch. So that's my M right now.
Time to go.
So my M is to slope into lunch with my wife and have a wonderful time. And hopefully you enjoy the show and what we talk about. But again, the retrospective is, look, investors said no to us. My M could have gone this way, right? Things didn't work out so well with the software team. My M could have gone this way. But guess what? My M has always been this way.
Yep.
Because life isn't about what happened in the past. You're just a timeline. You're a memory of the universe up to this point. But you're also the potential of what it could be.
Yep.
The potential of what it could be is where you should focus your energy.
Comes on how do you
Your
deal
M
with
could be
things?
anything you want to be. And that's the future. Right, guys?
Deal with things in better ways.
Increase your frequency. The perspective is, holy shit, Republic's cool. I'm going to be able to help regular people make a lot of money. And I get to try this new marketplace that hasn't existed until now. I get to be the first to play with this toy where I can tell the story directly to the customer, to the people who can take this technology, invest in it, help spread the word, and change the world and make it a better place. I choose
Right.
that M. The M of success. an upward trajectory in my potential future. The other M would say, this is going to fail. Which one are you? I've always been the other M. I started at a low B. You can start at a low B. It doesn't matter, guys. It's the slope of your curve that matters. Slope of your line. And with that, I'm going to head out. Thanks, guys.
Take care. See you guys next time.